Does the real estate deal you're looking at pass the stress test? The winners stress test their deal before they buy. The losers ignore the potential problems and hope for the best. If you're like most people, your biggest fear is the fear of losing money. So to help you mitigate this, you need to think through all that can go wrong and then make sure your property can handle it. That's what a stress test is. In this video, I'm going to share with you how we stress test our deals, what we put them through, so we know that they work today, tomorrow, and even if the proverbial stuff hits the fan. Let's get started. All right, before we get started, real quick, I want to share with you the two main reasons why the typical investor doesn't put their deal through a stress test. The first reason is they don't know how. We know how here because I personally have a track record of success and 25 years of experience and the scars to show it. So I know how to put a deal through a stress test, believe me. And number two, the typical investor is afraid to ask for help. So asking for help, let me say this, is a sign of strength, not a weakness. So get over yourself and ask for help. At any time during this video, you want help with your deal or have any questions, go ahead and text Peter to 833-942-4516 and let's see if we can help you. All right, let's get started with the first stress test. All right, let's get started right here. I'm going to share with you 4 metrics of stress, okay, that you should put through all of your deals, okay? No matter what they are, apartments, self-storage, mobile home parks, doesn't matter. Do what I'm about to do here, okay, to protect yourself. All right, so the first stress test is what I call the obvious one. And the obvious one is, what if there is an economic downturn or market crash, right? You have to prepare for that because it could happen, okay? So the first stress metric number 1, is to model the rent. I call them rent modeling. It's very simple. I'm going to keep all these metrics, these 4 metrics, very simple for you. It's not complex. So I want you to assume that the rents drop 10% for the year. Or assume that vacancy on your multifamily, right now, today, we're using 5% to model our vacancy for the whole year. Assume that it goes from 10%. It goes to 10%, okay? So you can do either one, and what that would do, that would stress test your deal, because I want you to answer this question after you do these 2 things. So here's the question I want you to answer. Does your deal still cash flow in a way where it still makes sense to buy? Okay, so after you assume that the rent's going to drop 10%, or you assume that the vacancy for the whole year would be 10%, meaning that you're modeling the rent as if it's going to drop, does it still make sense to buy? That is your first stress test. Okay, so do that. That is stress test number 1. Let's go to stress test number 2. Here is the second metric, the second stress test you must do to make sure your deal can weather the storm when things go awry. All right, so the second stress test is this, is the question, what if the market cap rate increases? Okay, now quick background, when a cap rate in a market goes up, that means property values go down. And accordingly, when a market cap rate goes down, like it is today, mainly in some markets, property values go up. So historically, over the last 10 years, we've been seeing market cap rates either steady or going down and people making a lot of money. But what if the market cap rate goes in the opposite direction? You have to stress test that just in case it happens, okay? So the stress test number 2 is to monitor your exit cap rate. So your exit cap rate is, what is the market cap rate going to be when I sell the property? Because a cap rate is used to determine the value of your property. And for example, I want you to assume your market cap rate goes up, okay? Goes up 0.5%, i.e. values are dropping. Got it? So 5 years from now, and you thought you're gonna make all this money, but the market cap rate actually went up a little. So that means values are dropping. So you need to ask yourself this question, okay? Answer this question. If this were to happen, am I still able to exit with an acceptable profit? So that is stress test number 2, to make sure that when you exit from your deal and the market is not doing so great, actually cap rates are rising, meaning property values are going down, are you still able to make a profit? You must, absolutely must stress test this. Got it? All right, let's move on to stress test number 3. Here is stress test number 3. Let me set this up for you. Let's say that you purchased a multifamily property and your goal is to buy it and then renovate it and fix up the rents, make it worth more, then go to the lender and do a cash out refinance. Our company, by the way, is great at that, right? It's a great strategy. But we need to stress test this because it's such a popular technique and is very lucrative. Again, we need to stress test this. So stress test number 3 is, here's the question, what if interest rates don't come down ever? Right? We need to stress test that. Okay, so the stress test metric 3 is what we call interest rate sensitivity. How sensitive is your deal to the interest rates? That's an absolute must for today's environment where interest rates could go up or down depending on the feds, right? And you want to be at risk of that. Right, now, here's what I want you to assume to stress test your deal. I want you to assume that interest rates actually stay where they are, right? Or they go up 0.5%. So most times, especially today, we read all the news because we think the Fed has inflation under control. Everyone is saying interest rates are going to come down to, this level or even this level. But what if they don't, right? What if they don't? If they don't, and you don't stress test this, you could be in for big, big trouble. The majority of syndicators today are in big trouble because they did not stress test their deal with the interest rates going up. Okay, 4 years ago they had these really, really low interest rates, and now they want to refinance, but interest rates are up to here, and their property can't afford this interest rate, so they're probably going to have to foreclose or raise money. I don't know. They're in big trouble. Okay, so this is a very important stress test. So I want you to assume again the interest rates are going to stay where they are or they're going to go up. So you have to answer this question. Okay, this is the question to answer. If my plan is to refinance, cash out refi in 4 years, okay, way down the road, okay, but interest rates go up 0.5%, does my property qualify for a refinance with the higher monthly mortgage payments, right? So when the interest rates go up over 4 years, even 0.5% or maybe 1%, the mortgage payments are going to go up. Can your deal afford those new mortgage payments and still have enough equity to pull the money out? You have to test that. You cannot assume that 3 years from now, the Feds will have everything under control and the interest rates come down. Don't assume that because it may not happen, okay? This is a stress test when, like I said, when the proverbial stuff hits the fan, you have to be ready for it, all right? Okay, so that is the third stress test is what I call interest rate sensitivity. Run different interest rate scenarios based upon your exit strategy and see if it still works. All right, okay, let's go to the fourth metrics. Here is stress test number 4. This one is so important, and a lot of times new investors miss it because they have just a lack of knowledge or foresight, okay? And this is what we do for our students, to give them the foresight to think well ahead of time, to stress things out, to make sure they can be successful. The fourth stress test is, what if you have to hold on to your property longer than expected? Okay, so let's say that you buy a property and your goal is to buy it, fix it up, and in 5 years, sell it. Let's say the market conditions change and you can't sell it in 5 years, right? The values have dropped. Well, the stress metric is your hold period. And the assumption is, assume that you may not be able to sell your property in 5 years because maybe the market dropped. So you anticipated to sell it in 5 years, but you may have to hold on to it for 7, 8, or even 10 years instead. Okay, that's the stress test. The question to answer here is, will the loan that you are considering getting, okay, remember this is before you buy the property, the loan that you are considering getting, will it allow you to go 7, 8, 9, 10 years if needed? All right, so that's how you stress test if you need to hold on to the property longer than anticipated, because hey, Murphy's Law, things happen, markets drop, your contractor may take longer than expected, you may take longer than expected because of your inexperience. Give yourself more time and plan accordingly as if something may go wrong. That's what a stress test is, to make sure your property works today, tomorrow, and even if something like this happens. Got it? All right. Okay. So there you are. There are the 4 ways to stress test your deals, the 4 metrics. Okay. If you have any questions of what we went over, and if you want us to help you stress test your deal, go ahead and send us a text, 833-942-4516, and we'll help you out. All right, everyone. Thank you for holding on with me. Again, if you held on this long, and you're looking at me right now, you held on all the way through, you are my favorite viewer. All right. Thank you so much. If you like this video, go ahead and click the like button. If you want to get more videos like this sent to you, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Or if you want to be like one of our students and get your deal stress test on a daily basis, go ahead and apply to our mentorship program. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it so much, and I'll see you at the next video.